Only I can see how cute and adorable my cat is. You'll have to tune in another time to see Officer Bagel. But what you can see is one of the best Terrans in the world. Had a pretty strong showing the recent LAN, DreamHack Atlanta. And here in the round of 8 in the KSL, we're expecting big things. I'm glad he woke up in time for KSL this week. He usually doesn't. But it is ByuN for the Shopify Rebellion here live in person in this replay that we're casting just after the tournament ended because I wanted to see this game. His opponent in the upper right-hand corner is none other than the blue Protoss. It is NightMare from Matcherino Esports. I want to see this whole series. Heard it was quite good, and nobody covered it in English, unfortunately. So you could watch Enki's VOD, Enki Alexander, in Spanish. But we got to get some English coverage on this bad boy, and I will never be sad to cast another ByuN game. So if you are watching this live, don't check the bracket. Don't look at the bracket, it'll spoil it. And if you're watching this as a VOD, I would also recommend not checking the bracket. If you're watching this video on YouTube later on, firstly, please hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Thank you. But also, don't check the bracket till after. It'll spoil the result. That'd be so silly. Make sure to watch the rest of the series in the KSL too. I make sure when I post videos for KSL or the EPT Cups, I put them in like the playlist, so you can see the videos in the playlist and watch the matches that I cast throughout that specific tournament. It will kind of spoil it a little though, if you look at like the next videos, right? If I cast Hero versus Classic, and then the next video is one of those players against somebody else, you're like, I think I know who might have won. Sometimes I post things backwards though. I'll post like the finals first and then the semis. So that might fool you. Maybe you wouldn't know. It's like the anti-spoiler. You can't actually trust me. Maybe I should start putting different player names on the overlay, on the like the thumbnail, so that it'll anti-spoiler people. They'll be like, "Wow, I can't believe you told me that it was Maru versus Oliveira, but it was really Dark versus Solar." I'm like, yeah, I just don't want you to know. I don't want you to know. I've turned the bracket command off in chat, actually. So if you are here live, you can't even check the bracket. Unless you really want to check the bracket. It will spoil you. I'm going to warn you. I will post it, but it will spoil you on who won this match. More fun, I think, to watch it without knowing. That's one of the things I like about casting one of these matches after the tournament, too, is like a lot of people tune in because everybody else is done. They turn the stream off. And they're like, well, only one person casting KSL. They come in and they don't know who won because they weren't watching. It's good. It's good. It's fresh. If you don't know who won, it might as well be a new game. Now, ByuN is going to go for a cheeky little Cyclone drop here. Pick up and boost out. Just the one Cyclone, though, so not like the scariest thing in the world. And I think the shield battery will help keep the probes alive for a long time. Reaper tries to come in and get some more damage done. Looks like only a couple of probes going down this game so far, though. NightMare defending quite nicely. Behind this, we have a bit of a... Okay, it's going to be another Rax going down here soon, I think. For ByuN. Oh, I guess not. I guess it's another Siege tank. Though ByuN's going to have a bit of a timing here with a few tanks. Good handful of Marines, maybe a medevac or two if he wants to. Speaking of medevacs, this one is extremely low. It's at 14 hit points. And I think it's time for this medevac to just sit right here and do absolutely nothing. for like a while. ByuN usually remembers it later on in the game. And if NightMare's pulled all his stalkers away, it has some potential. That's kind of a big if. NightMare is patrolling some stalkers here. They're doing a great job. There's that third Rax going down for ByuN. Stim about halfway done. In the meantime, NightMare is going for charge and is dropping 4 more gates. Am I seeing that correctly? Where are those 4 gates? Oh, they're way up here. Okay. 4 more gates going down. All right, hot diggity. So he's going to have a lot of charge lots. +1 is on the way as well. Blink is already done. He's going to try to blink in here and maybe get a cheeky snipe on a reactor. Don't know if he's going to quite be able to get it. ByuN not pulling SCVs for the repair. But it looks like the stalkers will get pushed away anyways. Stim not quite done yet, so the Marines can't catch up to these stalkers. Unless the stalkers just stop moving and NightMare doesn't pay attention. Whew. All right. Now ByuN going for some auto turret harass. Gets 3 kills with that first auto turret. And I think more importantly sees this little l'explosion du gateway, as they might say in French. It's really only 4. It's not a massive amount, but 7 gates in total. Kind of a lot. A lot of potential here for NightMare. If he wants to just keep pumping units. He's actually got an 8th gate on the way. This one is proxied. That Cyclone really went for it, dude. It tried to boost in. And the Stalker just pew, knocked it out of the sky. That's so funny. ByuN nice and sieged up directly under this observer, which I think he's spotted. And he is going to scan and kill it. It's so hard to spot them when they're in their siege mode like that. And I always thought, okay, we're going to get into a fight here. So I'll give you my ideas on observer siege mode shortly. As NightMare's going to try to come in here straight to the natural, avoiding the army. But the army says, no, I don't want you to avoid us. This is a big group of bio with +1. Some force fields go down. NightMare realizes he has to get the hell out of dodge. He is leading him straight to his gateway, which does mean a few more zealots can warp in, but ByuN does not quite get a scout on that gate. Oh, and now the zealots can try to run around the other side. All right, so they added siege mode to the observer, right? They gave it to the overseer as well for Zerg. And the idea of it was you can put it here, and if you want to F2, it won't go anywhere, right? If you try to move it, it just doesn't do anything. ByuN's found this gateway, no? I like the idea of that. I think that's a good idea. We used to see even the pro players. Actually, Hero, who was also in this bracket, was a frequent F2er back in the day. He would like all in, and all of a sudden the mothership core would come flying up, or observers, like 3 observers would come from the corners of the maps, the middle of the map, and just like group on his army. He'd be like, oh, here's the F2. He was an F2 enjoyer. Anyways, I always thought it was strange that the siege mode gave it a bigger vision. I feel like because you're getting the advantage already of not being able to F2 it, it should give it less vision. It's kind of my thought on the siege mode thing here. But ByuN's going for a massive doom drop in the main base. He hasn't quite dropped all the units out, but I think he still wins this fight. And now with a couple more Marines popping out, the rest of the zealots are just going to die. And ByuN, oh, he's got so much in here. At the same time, he's pushing with the 3 tanks and another small group of bio. NightMare is going to clean this up, and those tanks going down is a bit painful for ByuN. I don't know that it's going to matter too much. He's getting so much damage under the main. I actually think he can just target down this Nexus if he wants to. Gonna take down the shield battery. He's gonna play it a little bit safe. The Robo Bay is in danger of going down. No, he is gonna target the Nexus. He says that is more important. Slowing down Thermal Lance is nice here. Oh, he's gonna dive forward for the Colossi. Can he get one? He does. Before picking up and getting out of there, the 2 Blink Stalkers not scary enough. And I think ByuN will just leave after seeing these Zealots warp in. In the meantime, he's got a 4th base going down back at home. So he kills a Nexus, drops a base. There is double Colossus, though. And NightMare is going to get Thermal Lance back online fairly soon. So ByuN did a lot of damage there, killed quite a few probes, killed a Nexus. NightMare's mining is not fantastic, but he's gonna have a sick army. He's about to have 4 Colossi on the field. It's just so far down in supply. That's the biggest concern here, is ByuN's army is a little less, like, technically good, maybe a little less well-rounded. I mean, I don't know. He's got ghosts out already. So even as I say that, it feels like ByuN's army is looking pretty damn hot. Now, as he builds a few Vikings, the Colossi are going to feel less and less good, and NightMare has decided not to push across the map. I really feel like that was his only shot. He's going to be down in economy, and down in army, and down in upgrades. Trying to get some damage done here. The Widow Mine almost kills the Prism. The Bio will come clean the rest of this up. Vikings cleaning up the Prism. And NightMare, I mean, he is just... I would say he's on the back foot, but right now he is at death's door. And ByuN is a knockin'. Yeah, this game looks honestly a lot like I would expect ByuN versus NightMare to look. ByuN is just in a commanding lead. He's going to stim forward, get some meat, massive EMPs. The Zealots do come forward. There's actually quite a few more Zealots here. The Super Shield Battery holding on really nicely for these Colossi, but the Vikings are chewing through that a little bit. And the Shield Battery is about to run out of overcharge. I think there's still just too much bio on the ground. Despite all those Zealots, the medevac healing is too good. And ByuN powers through with the power of macro and takes down game number 1. Yeah, I am happy we got ByuN in. He probably did wake up earlier because of the time difference to Atlanta. So he's probably still like on a little bit of a weird schedule and maybe waking up early just naturally. The time difference between Atlanta and South Korea is so extreme. I think it might honestly be 12 hours. No. I think it's 11 hours. I think it's 11 hours right now. Anyways, we're going to get into game 2 here. But yes, fortunately, awake in and ready to play some StarCraft by noon Korean Standard Time. It is the Shopify Rebellion's ByuN. And you'd be surprised at how difficult it is to get ByuN to show up for these. But I'm really glad that he decided to today. I hope we can get him in some more. I've been like toying around with the thought of changing the time and making it a little bit later. I would like to, but I don't know if... I feel like some of the other people involved in this tournament, like Dave Testa, might not be able to swing that. I don't know. Might be something worth talking about. Anyways, his opponent in the upper right-hand corner, we have Maturino's NightMare. I was thinking about it today. Like, part of me wants to push the tournament like a couple hours later. I think we would have a better chance of getting some of the Koreans in. The ideal time would be at like 6 p.m. their time, which that's not particularly feasible right now. That's at, what, 1 a.m.? Yeah, it's at 1 a.m. my time. That's at 4 a.m. Dave Testa's time. And then, like, Steadfast wouldn't be able to cover it. And, I don't think, like, Enki would be able to cover it. Well, maybe he would be able to. I don't know. It's tough. Like, you're either awake for this time slot or you're awake for the time slot immediately after it. Not usually both. But I would just love to have, you know, guys like ByuN in it a little more. I don't know that Maru would necessarily play anymore, but he might. I think he'd be more likely to show up if it was at a better time, a slightly later time. It's just a hard balance. I figured Saturday at noon would work out all right for them, but we'll see. Might get Wardy to cover it. That's true. Yeah, Wardy. I don't know if I want Wardy to cover it. You know, he'd be taking all the viewers. Nah, JK. That's true, actually. Get like Wardy and Roddy might be able to wake up to cover it if they wanted to. It's tough. It's a very hard balance. The other problem with it is that so I work on Saturdays. Potentially, if I tried to take Saturdays off from work, it would make this easier and more feasible. But I have done it before. I've done it for the EPT Korea actually a few weeks. And I might cast EPT Korea this week, which starts at 1 a.m. The only problem is for KSL, I have to gather all the replays afterwards and send replays out to everybody. So usually, I also make the next week's bracket and everything. I don't know. I should talk about this game shortly here, but usually after KSL, I spend anywhere between 2 to 5 hours, just depending on how slow I am and how much there is to do. 2 to 5 hours, like doing stuff related to like KSL or to my channel. That's like, I'll get the YouTube videos together and start posting those or getting them ready to post for the week. So I usually spend like 2 to 5 hours doing stuff after the tournament's over. And that means that if it ran like 1 to 4 or 1 to 5 my time, I probably wouldn't sleep after that because I'd probably have to go into work at like 9. So the tournament would end at like 4:30, and then I would work on stuff for like 3 hours, let's say. And then at 7:30, then I'd like eat breakfast and go to work. Theoretically feasible, but maybe not the coolest thing in the world for me to want to do every single week. But on that note, unfortunately, we're going to have to make KSL bi-weekly starting next year. We'll run one more next week, but then I think 2024 season. Oh! As the Stalkers finish up Blink in time to get that medevac. Yeah, starting next year, I think we're going to just run it every other week. It's got to be the plan. The Patreon funding has... It's run a little low to be able to run it weekly. However, we'll be able to run it every other week, and that'll give us a good amount of clearance to potentially be able to, I don't know, still bank up some, or maybe we could, there's a possibility we could raise the prize pool to $500 and run it every other week, and that would, I think that'd be kind of fun. I wouldn't hate raising the prize pool if we have to do it every other week. So I think that might be what we're looking at for next year. Haven't really talked to Dave about it or anybody about it, but I think that's just kind of what we have to do. Like I've said before, I will continue running KSL in whatever capacity we can for as long as possible and just try to get as many good games as we can. Speaking of good games, I should talk about this one. There's been a lot of harassment attempts from ByuN. He hasn't really gotten much done, though. 4 probes is it. And I feel like this Raven has actually done more harassment than anything else. Yeah, the Raven has half the probe kills. The Cyclone did basically nothing. The 2 Reapers and the Hellion did basically nothing. This Medevac died. The 3 Adepts died, killing the 6 Marines. So I think that's a good trade for ByuN. But that means he also does scout what's coming his way as the Observer gets sniped. ByuN is going to drop 2 more barracks, but he's got that 3rd CC on the way. We got a bit of a macro game on our hands. I like this opening for NightMare, generally speaking. We'll see if this double drop can get some damage done, but NightMare is also heading to the other side of the map with Hold the Phone. Hold the phone. Storm is researched. This is a storm drop. Oh, NightMare, you beautiful, beautiful boy. Oh, that's hot. Oh, that's sexy. Woo. Oh, there's a siege tank here. Okay. This siege tank could be huge. ByuN's going to leave with his bio, though. And I think we are going to see some storms go down. Oh, no! 20 SCVs as ByuN tries to run his SCVs away. And they all stack up. I think he was expecting Zealots, not storm drops. And at the same time, NightMare pushes this away on the other side of the map. He loses the Twilight Council. He's going to replace it. He actually doesn't need it at all. He has charge and he has blink. and his Templar Archives is done. The only thing he could possibly need it for is a Dark Shrine at this point. He's not going to get anything else from it. The Widow Mines are still here. They're still alive. ByuN is still dropping on both sides, in fact. So ByuN still has some big potential here, but he's down 20 workers. He needs to get some damage done. However, this double drop is looking pretty good. This one gets cleared up. This one does not get cleared up, though. The Stalkers and Zealots are doing their best. They're starting to whittle away at this force, and it's down to just a handful of Marines and Marauders. So now ByuN will pick up and get out of there. But ByuN is up a little bit of army supply. He's going to be able to take his third. He's still down 20 workers, though. So even after all of that, it feels like NightMare is pretty well set up here. And that army supply, it's a little bit deceiving. A little bit deceiving. I talk about this sometimes, and it's still definitely in ByuN's favor. But a lot of Terran units are usually in production. When you look at the army supply, 3 Marauders, that's just 6 supply, plus the couple Widow Mines. That's just all in production. It's not here. And even when they're fighting, usually there's like some Terran units kind of rallied back at home. Maybe there's one in the bunker like this. So that Terran army supply kind of has to be higher. Or the units have to be better quality, but in this case, it's a very even game in that regard. If anything, NightMare has a better quality army, because he's got the High Templar. Ghosts are just now coming out. Colossi are coming out in NightMare. But yeah, that Terran army does have to be a little bit bigger in general to just be fighting on even footing. Now, ByuN's third base is looking good. He's got Widow Mines out. Nice siege tank here, but he is chilling back at home. And that's allowing NightMare to just kind of do whatever he wants. Taking his 4th base, he's got pylons going down around here to double check for drops all over the map. Another Colossus popping out as Thermal Lance is on the way. And I feel like NightMare's in such a comfortable spot, putting down a 2nd Robo. It really worries me for ByuN. I don't really like this move from NightMare, though. He's going to try to dive in here, but as I say that, he drops 2 big storms, a 3rd one, sending this army backwards. Some beautiful zoning storms. And he picks up in that prism and gets out of there. Oh, the Stalkers go for the recall. It's not going to work out too well for them. That was a lot of storm damage, but a lot of ByuN's army does stay alive. Army supply is still pretty similar after all that. If NightMare can get out of here with this prism and the 4 High Templar in it, that is still going to be a good win for him, I think. I love this move. Oh, that's such a sick little move. It's just a cutesy little, like, the High Templar you won't expect that can land a cheeky storm. But ByuN's moving around the left-hand side, and I don't think NightMare has seen it, but he has recognized it. EMP is going down, but one storm does land. This army is still really battered here for ByuN. So the splash damage is going to be so strong against it. This prism now has a Colossus in it. Maybe not what ByuN's going to expect to drop out of that prism. Feedback's going down on the Ghost, and ByuN is getting pushed backwards right now. A huge storm lands once again. I think this is really nice for NightMare, pushing this back. Some Zealots on the flank, hitting these units as well. The very battered and bruised army of ByuN. He's gathering his reinforcements. But NightMare holds on to his 4th base, no problem, easy peasy, and is even taking a 5th base behind it. ByuN's going to try to position his 4th base over here now. Scans to get this Observer. He will get the Observer. But ByuN's going to be able to get this base up, turn it into a planetary, start up some production there. A little skirmish in the middle of the map, though. I don't think ByuN was quite ready for this. The Widow Mines hitting the Zealots, though. The Zealots are all dead, and NightMare does not have detection, so that's 5 Widow Mines just sitting underneath that. ByuN, I mean, he has great vision of where the army is right now as the Observers are coming across the map. Oh, my God. This is so scary. I know they have, like, a long time left on their ticker here. That's terrifying to just sit over top of 5 Widow Mines. This would be really bad, but I kind of wish there was a way to hold position Widow Mines where they wouldn't shoot until after you were on top of them like that. God, imagine if there was just 2 mines that hadn't fired yet or something. Anyways, a chicken can dream. NightMare's going to rotate around and try to hit this planetary. ByuN is nearby, but looks like some of these barracks going to be a little too exposed. NightMare poking forward, but not committing super hard. ByuN just doesn't have the money to get out a huge Viking count, so the 4 Colossi are standing so tall right now. NightMare just poking and prodding. He has a lot of upgrades on the way. He's on 5 bases. He doesn't really need to commit. Like, I still like NightMare's position here, but I love what he's doing. He's trying to keep ByuN's army smaller, and it is way smaller. And if he can just take little trades, and keep ByuN down, NightMare doesn't want to fight ByuN when it's 200 to 200 supply. He wants to keep ByuN down at 150, 160 supply. And if he keeps pressuring like this on superior bases, he'll be able to do that. Ooh, can he get this NG Bay? Storm on the backside, hitting a lot of these Marines, damaging a bunch of them. Colossi need to be a little careful. EMP's going down on the Stalkers, but it doesn't really matter too much. Stalkers can still blink backwards. More Zealots warping in. I'm liking this more and more for NightMare. That +2 does finish, so ByuN's upgrades ahead a little bit right now. But is it too late? I think it is too late. NightMare is going to go ahead and tie up the series 1-1. Evening it up with ByuN. That game was just great defense early game from NightMare, and that really hurt the mid game from ByuN. But really, honestly, the Storm drop. Like, yeah, the early game defense from NightMare was good, but those drops from ByuN would have been really hard to defend. I think it still would have been okay for NightMare. But instead of those being like nice drops for ByuN to try to get some damage done, those turned into ByuN absolutely without a doubt needs to get a bunch of damage done right now because he just lost 20 workers. That Storm drop put ByuN in a terrible spot, and he wasn't able to pull it back. He did some good work with those drops, but it wasn't enough. I love that a Storm drop was the key to that game. That's so sick, dude. You just don't see those that often. And even when you do, I feel like it forces the workers off of mining and then gets like, I don't know, 4, maybe 6 kills. Maybe you get like 10. And you're like, ooh, that's cool. That's good. 20 kills, dude. That's brutal. Anyways, we're in game number 3 now. We're on match point and spawning in the upper left-hand corner of Oceanborn. We've got Shopify's ByuN. And his opponent in the lower right-hand corner for Matcherino, it's NightMare. Shout out to Matcherino, not only sponsoring players in StarCraft, but also a site that I've used for many a tournament. I know many StarCraft tournament organizers have. We have a Matcherino for this event. If you'd like to support this one specific KSL Weekly, you can check out that Matcherino. There are free coupon codes there. There's a link in the chat, and there's also a link under the video if you're watching this on YouTube. Please consider just going to check that out, hitting that claim code button, adding 25 cents to the prize pool. Costs you nothing, but it just helps offset some of the costs. Like the money goes to the players, but if they get like a little bit extra money over the $400 prize pool that we already have, it helps offset some of the costs of like moving money around from Matcherino to PayPal to their bank account or whatever. There's always like little transaction fees and whatnot. So I appreciate that. The nice thing about Matcherino sponsoring StarCraft players is that I know that any money that's in those like transaction fees that's allowing Matcherino to have a website and run the website and keep things up to date is also going to StarCraft players. So I don't mind paying transaction fees if I know that money is going somewhere that I support. There are other ways to like run tournaments, other ways to pay out prize pools. Matcherino makes it very easy, especially since we pay out top 8. So it's always like a ton of math to figure out how much to pay people. And Matcherino is great for crowdfunding because people can just like add $5 to it if they feel like it. and it's just right in the prize pool. But there are other ways that would probably have less like transaction fees or maybe cost less money overall. But there's something we do in StarCraft that I feel like is kind of a part of our identity as a community, which is we're generally very good at supporting the sponsors of our game, right? Whether it's sponsoring a tournament, which Metrino has done in the past, or sponsoring players in this case. We like to support those companies. If I ever have a chance to use Shopify, for instance, I absolutely will over a competitor or over a different, comparable service, just because they supported StarCraft and are continuing to support StarCraft. Right? So same thing goes for Maturino. I'll keep using them as long as they keep supporting StarCraft. That is just what it is. I love that about our community too. I feel like that's why events like Home Story Cup have done so well, generally speaking. The sponsors for that tournament, I would imagine see a much bigger ROI for the viewer count than they would on like pretty much any other esport title. You might get 10 times the viewers on Dota, but are you going to get 10 times the clicks, 10 times the purchases? I feel like the answer is no. That is complete conjecture, though. What's not conjecture is that ByuN, he's going for a little poosh. Little poosh. He's got 2 tanks here. The probe is going to see the medevac, but doesn't see what's in it. And I don't think saw the SCVs. NightMare is trying to get into Blink. Blink is about to finish. Stalkers are moving out. Going to try to poke and prod. But this is a big attack from ByuN. Got workers with this, man. He is very committed to this attack. He's not all in by any means. It's only a handful of workers, but he's got to get some damage done. Depth goes down. The Stalkers now see the tanks. Some fancy micro could be done here by ByuN, picking up the tanks and dodging Stalker shots. It is possible to dodge Stalker shots. They are projectiles. Super Shield Battery turns on. NightMare decides to go out and try to meet this as the tanks siege up. Woo, we're taking some big damage from these siege tanks. He's going to try to get one. Can he do it? The Immortal will finish it off. NightMare, he's going to target on the second one. Can he get that one? He does. No fancy pickups because they were in siege mode. And NightMare taking advantage of the fact that those SCVs just can't out-repair the damage of the Immortal. Liberator is here, but with those tanks gone, I feel like NightMare isn't nearly as scared now. Third tank is going to show up. The Stalkers were trying to go find it, but I actually think the tank kind of wins that fight. ByuN going to move forward a little bit. This shield battery is now in the danger zone, and it looks like it's going to fall soon. Another Stalker warping in, another Immortal about to finish. Stalkers on the backside picking off some reinforcements. ByuN setting up a bunker. ByuN is starting to crack through a little bit here. He's still building workers back at home. He's got a third CC on the way. So he's not all in or anything. But NightMare has also started a third base. He's feeling confident that he can hold this, and he knows he needs the macro behind it. He's going to take down the tank. Doesn't quite lose the Immortal, and now this Immortal is going to start picking off SCVs on the front while the Stalkers pick off the new reinforcing tank. A few Stalkers do go down for it. In the meantime, this Immortal has picked off a couple of SCVs. Not the biggest deal in the world. Might be able to stop this bunker from coming up, though. More Stalkers warping in. NightMare desperately trying to hold. I don't think ByuN realizes that there's a base up here. And this is NightMare's ace in the hole. Because right now, ByuN, I think, is feeling like he's in a better position than he's in. Oh, and NightMare goes for the kill on the Liberator while it's unsieged. It will get away, and it will scout this base, and that's got to be a moment for ByuN where he's like, damn it. It's not a bad moment for ByuN. Like, I still like ByuN's position here in general. He's going to lose a few workers as they retreat. But really, the worker count's very similar. ByuN's about to take his third base here, or should be able to fairly shortly. NightMare doesn't have, like, a ton of army supply right now. He is warping in some High Templar, though. Charge is about to finish. We could see a big Charge-Lord Archon follow-up. Like, Charge-Lord Archon Immortal is a very good composition. I don't know if you guys knew that. And yeah, with 4 gateways on the way. A Prism on the way out. I think NightMare is going to go for an attack, and I think he's going to try to do the same thing to ByuN that ByuN did to him, and just contain him a little bit on a couple of bases. ByuN going to be annoying with this Liberator in the meantime. But I think NightMare is going to be very happy to stop this third base from landing. Oh, another Liberator here in the main base. The Stalkers blink forward, and with the shield battery, we should be able to take this out. ByuN's got the third base mining, but he doesn't have any defenses at it just yet. Tank not moving down there. NightMare might have a chance to get on top of it, or he could just go for the throw. That's a bit of a dangerous proposition, but he absolutely could. Looks like he's going to warp in maybe some Zealots first. This is going to give ByuN time to get over here and get these tanks in position. They're not sieged up. Siege them up. Ooh. That was dangerous. That was dangerous. NightMare is getting ready to push in, though. He's going to go for it anyways. Blinks forward, going to focus fire these tanks. One goes down, two goes down, the third one dies, and now it's just a bunch of Marines. Stim isn't done yet. ByuN is on the back foot. He has so many upgrades about to finish, but the follow-up to that attack just wasn't here in time for ByuN, and now he's scrambling, but he's pulling SCVs against two Archons and a bunch of Zealots. The Prism will die before that warp-in comes through, but it doesn't matter. NightMare is going to hold on against ByuN's two-base push. Barely holds it, and then counterattacks. He just is ready to go with the Charge-Lot Archon Immortal counterattack. And ByuN, as good as his macro is, he just didn't quite have everything in time. Stim, Combat Shields, and 1-1 were all within 30 seconds of finishing. If that attack from NightMare hits any later, I think ByuN just holds. I think those Marines there with Stim and Combat Shields and 1-1 are good enough to just gun a lot of that down. The game would probably still go on. But man, that's so different if it hits even 20 seconds later. Crazy. NightMare hit at the perfect time, and he takes the 2-1 victory over ByuN in this week's KSL.